The rain had stopped just before sunset, leaving the forest quiet and silver beneath the evening sky. Deep in the woods, where tall pine trees swayed softly in the cool wind, a narrow trail curled between mossy stones and sleepy wildflowers. Few people knew the trail existed, and even fewer followed it all the way to the end. At the end of that winding path stood a hidden cabin. The cabin was small and warm-looking, with ivy climbing its wooden walls and a crooked chimney leaning slightly to one side. Golden light glowed from the windows as though the cabin itself were awake and waiting. One autumn evening, a young traveler named Elias wandered through the forest after missing the last carriage back to town. He carried only a small lantern, a wool blanket, and a satchel filled with books he had hoped to sell at the village market. As darkness slowly spread between the trees, Elias grew tired. The forest seemed endless, and the sound of rustling leaves made him feel very small and alone. Then he saw it, a tiny golden light flickering through the trees. Curious and relieved, Elias followed the glow until he reached the hidden cabin. Thin curls of smoke rose from the chimney, carrying the comforting scent of cedarwood and cinnamon into the cold air. Elias knocked gently on the door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door creaked open. An old woman stood there wrapped in a dark green shawl. Her silver hair was braided neatly down her back, and her eyes sparkled kindly, like moonlight on water. "You look tired," she said softly. "I'm afraid I'm lost," Elias admitted. "Well then," she replied with a smile, "you've arrived at the right place." Inside, the cabin was even cozier than Elias imagined. A fire crackled in the stone hearth. Shelves filled with books lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Dried herbs hung from wooden beams overhead, filling the room with calming scents of lavender and pine. The old woman introduced herself as Mira. She handed Elias a steaming cup of tea sweetened with honey and invited him to sit beside the fire. Outside, the wind whispered through the forest, but inside the cabin, everything felt peaceful and safe. "You may stay the night," Mira told him. Elias thanked her gratefully. As the fire danced with soft orange light, Elias noticed something unusual. Every clock in the cabin had stopped ticking. The hands remained perfectly still. Mira saw him staring. "This cabin keeps its own kind of time," she explained quietly. Elias frowned slightly. "What does that mean?" Mira smiled but did not answer immediately. Instead, she opened one of the old books resting beside her chair. Its pages were yellowed with age, and strange drawings filled the margins: moons, stars, forests, and hidden pathways. "Long ago," she began, "travelers who were weary in spirit found this cabin when they needed it most. The woods guide lost souls here so they may rest." Elias listened carefully as the fire crackled lower. "Some arrive carrying sadness," Mira continued. "Some carry fear. Others simply forget how to slow down and listen to the quiet parts of life." Outside, an owl called gently into the night. "And what happens after they rest?" Elias asked sleepily. "They leave lighter than they arrived." The warmth of the fire and the soft sound of Myra's voice slowly wrapped around Elias like a blanket. His heavy eyelids began to drift closed. Before he fell asleep, Mira placed another log onto the fire. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "the forest will show you the way home." That night, Elias dreamed peacefully. He dreamed of endless stars hanging above silent trees. He dreamed of rivers glowing silver beneath the moon. And somewhere in the distance, he heard the cabin breathing softly with the forest itself. When morning arrived, pale sunlight spilled through the windows. Elias awoke in the chair beside the fire, still wrapped in his blanket. The cabin was quiet. "Mira," he called softly. No answer came. The teacups were gone. The fire had turned to warm ash. And though the shelves still held hundreds of books, the cabin somehow felt empty, as though no one had lived there for many years. Confused, Elias stepped outside. The forest looked brighter now. Sunlight shimmered through golden leaves, and birds sang from the treetops. Near the doorway, he noticed something carved into the wood. "Rest and remember who you are." Elias smiled quietly. Then, with a peaceful heart, he followed the forest trail home while the hidden cabin disappeared silently behind the trees once more.